Hello and welcome to the series of reflections as we go through Holy Week. My name is Curtis and I'm the Children's and Families Worker for Woven St Martha's.
And hello from me, Peter Huxtable. Thank you so much for following through these videos this week. If you want to check back, you can look on the YouTube channel for Woven Church Nottingham and you'll see Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday on there. And looking forward to taking part in today's video. It'll be over to Curtis in a minute and then I'll be leading with a bit of music to finish.
Today we look back on when Jesus had his final meal with his disciples before he was ultimately betrayed and arrested. Let me picture the scene for you. The disciples were on their way to celebrate Passover. It was the time of year when they would celebrate all that God had done for them, as we can read in the story of Exodus, when God frees the nation of Israel from captivity and from slavery and from death. And every year at the Passover, they celebrate with a meal as well as sacrificing an innocent lamb to cover the sins of the nation of Israel, so they can once again be connected with God. This Passover meal, though, was a bit different from the rest of them. As the disciples gathered, they saw Jesus come into the room. Their teacher, their rabbi, their master, of whom they had been serving for so many years at this point. And what happened next was truly remarkable. Jesus takes off his robes, wraps a towel around his waist, and grabs a bowl of water. And he begins to wash his disciples' feet. As you could imagine, the disciples were so confused. Why on earth was Jesus doing this? This was their teacher, their rabbi, their master. And as we know now, he was God made flesh. So how can someone, being very nature God, did not consider equality with God as something to be used to his own advantage? Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant. And that's what Jesus did to demonstrate that he loves his followers. He loves each and every one of us. And we are all called not followers, but friends. And that is what Jesus encourages us to remember. That we are not just people from a distance. We are not people who watch him from afar. We are close. We are intimate. We are Jesus' friends. And we are called to be like him. To serve others in the same way that he serves each and every one of us. Jesus puts his robes back on. He goes back to the table. And here he drops a bombshell. That one of his closest friends, one of the disciples, was going to betray him. The disciples were aghast. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. Who on earth would betray Jesus? Jesus knew who it was going to be. Judas knew who it was going to be. They started eating the meal. Elements of the meal that they would have been so familiar with as they retold the story of Moses and the story of God freeing them from slavery. But Jesus makes these old elements into something new. He takes the bread and he says, "Take and eat. This is my body, broken for you." As they were eating it, he then took the cup and he said, "Take and drink. This is my blood." If you come to church at any point, you may know what this meal is. It is a communion. It is a mass. It is the Lord's Supper. It helps us to remember what Jesus was going to do on the cross. But here, Jesus was taking the elements from Passover about God rescuing the nation of Israel. But now Jesus was applying this to himself, that he was going to be the Passover lamb who would shed his blood, who would break his body, so that the whole world could be free from their sin. And he invites us every day to this table to remember what he has done for us. It's said in Mark's Gospel that after Jesus and his disciples had the meal, he sung a hymn as they went to the Garden of Gethsemane. And so to help us now reflect on what Jesus is going to do for us, let us now enter into a time of reflection as we hear a song from our Reverend Peter Huxtable.
Holding nothing back, taking up the cross of Jesus, there's no turning back. When we're called to follow Jesus, taking up the cup of suffering, laying down our lives instead, losing everything for his sake, for the joy that lies ahead. Point of no return, lead us to the cross of Jesus. Time for us to turn, walking in the way of Jesus, living sacrifices offered, bowing low to serve the least, giving up all things in this life, longing for the heavenly feast. Step up to the call, surrender all, leave everything and follow. Stand up, it's the time, make up your mind, go with the man of sorrows. No longer we who live, but Christ in us, Christ in everything. Holding nothing back, taking up the cross of Jesus, there's no turning back. When we're called to follow Jesus, taking up the cup of suffering, laying down our lives instead, losing everything for his sake, for the joy that lies ahead. Step up to the call, surrender all, leave everything and follow. Stand up, it's the time, make up your mind, go with the man of sorrows. No longer we who live, but Christ in us, Christ in everything. Step up to the call, surrender all, leave everything and follow. Stand up, it's the time, make up your mind, go with the man of sorrows. No longer we who live, but Christ in us, Christ in everything.